Hi you guys, this is Rachel Kirkland here, the Modern Shaman. Thanks for being with me for another YouTube video of the week. If you are new to my channel, I always suggest that you check out my website. Again, that's themodernshaman.net, and really, it's just a great resource. If you are looking for private sessions, if you are looking for more instructional videos and kind of details to work through a sense of curriculum, my masterclass is available on my website, as well as ways to get in touch with me for one-on-one healing sessions, psychic sessions, past life, future probability, mediumship, you name it, it is all there. So please reach out if you have yet to do so. Here is the question of the week. It says, "Hello Rachel. Recently I had a haircut and explained that I wanted my hair to grow out faster. She said to cut it on the full moon for length and the new moon for strength. She is native and said this was native lore. While I'm totally going to follow what she says, I'm wondering why it works. Thanks so much for all that you do for so many. Love and blessings." Well, that's a fun question. I don't normally get questions like that. Super fun. I can only speak for myself here, but essentially, like what we believe with the new moon and the full moon with hair, full moon is always representative of abundance, of blessings, of like the bounty of the earth, the fruit, and the receiving of blessings. So when you think about that in relationship to our hair or even our nails and that sense of growth, it is considered like an abundance or an overgrowth. And so if you want to keep that abundance going, if you want to keep kind of the lusciousness and overgrowth of the body, then it's just known to utilize the cycles of Mother Earth and the solar system and all of our planetary brothers and sisters to use that energy to continue the bounty. So we use this, and it's not just lore, it's a sense of the way that the Native community balances or understands astrology and uses the energy that comes in and that we experience on the earth as cycles of harvest, cycles of a lot of growth and maturity, of really that sense of like what I said, harvest. I think that's the overall feeling. And so when you want, like, it's wise to know when to cut the grass, when to harvest the corn. There's a sense of knowing with the hair in the same way that it relates to cutting it on the full moon if you want the harvest to continue, if you want it to grow, essentially. If that's what you asked, that's correct in the way that she shared that. When it comes to strength, saying that cutting it on the new moon is for strength, to me, it's more like independence, which I guess, is that sense of strength, of personal strength, of self-strength and self-worth, and segmenting off of like, this is what I'm doing for myself. There's a sense of independence to the new moon that says if I cut my hair on the new moon, it's a little bit like a birth story or a starting again, or so it is that kind of power and strength of self. But to me, it feels more like independence. And that's done a lot with like birth ceremonies, death ceremonies, ceremonies that equate a sense of starting on my own path, on my own journey. Maturation and maturing at a certain level, or a coming of age ceremony. This has that sense of strength to the cycle where it is something new. And it's not the finishing, but it's the beginning. And so it has that sense of like strength to it. So that's where it comes from in the native lore that you asked about. But I'll put my little 2 cents in here from the psychic standard. We hear a lot in the extrasensory perception community or the New Age community. It's not even really New Age, because you look back even in biblical times, like in historical writings, and the story of Samson and Delilah. You remember that? Where he had that superpower of strength and was told from God that if he cut his hair, that he would lose the sense of strength, that his strength came from his hair. And this is what he was told from spirit. And so when he was intimate with Delilah, who was kind of like a spy, she kind of seduced him to find out where his source of strength was from. And, he had this superhuman Herculean strength. And anyways, when he was sleeping, she cut off his hair, and he lost his strength and became a prisoner. So there's this, even back in that, like in biblical times, in the Old Testament, that connection of superhuman powers with hair has long since been around in oral tradition and kind of the extra sensory perception community, or the sense of having superhuman powers and it coming from outside of the self. It's also been seen as an antenna, and gosh, my words are like jacked up today. An antenna, and the idea that your hairs, similar to the way that the internal hairs in our ears are almost like little follicles that help gain a sense of frequency alignment, right? Or we can hear based on those inner ear little filaments and things. The perception in the New Age community also is about hair itself being like an antenna. And if you've ever followed any of the occult sciences or know the story of Maria Orsic and that community, which was Hitler's kind of psychic and medium that he would go to try and find all of those just like items of occult power. And she was a channeler, and she channeled how to build a UFO. She channeled all this information for him that he was kind of directing her to get in contact with galactic beings to find out all this sort of information. But all that to say, she was one that was very vocal about not cutting her hair. That part of the hair was, and I think her society, like they had a society, and it was women and German mystics that believed that the hair and keeping the hair long, they had really long hair, helped them gain a sense of accessibility for channeling these extraterrestrial beings and really interdimensional consciousness and collective consciousness and that type of thing. So that was also vocalized and kind of written about and really identified during that time period. I can't remember if there's been anything. It's always been connected also with a sense of spiritual growth. This is also in the Native communities, but it's in the Jewish faith where they don't cut their hair. It's and the sideburns. It's in the oh my goodness, a lot of communities, a lot of religious communities do this. Even like Rumi and a lot of the mystic poets, they believed, and underneath their turban, they would kind of like bind their hair, but essentially it was still connected to the awareness of spiritual growth and connection to the spiritual world. And even in the Native community, it's also associated with your connection to Mother Earth, like the sweetgrass or the hair of the earth. And this is the hair of our human earth, our human skin. And just like Mother Earth has her grasses and her holy sense of connection where she reaches out to us, our hair is our sense of holy connection and reaching out to the earth. So there's also that belief, and that belief that it's associated with spiritual union or spiritual wisdom and growth, and those that are wise having that sense of long hair. Rastafarians, it's the same. It's in a lot of different religious circles that it's connected to a high sense of spirituality. So hair is a sacred thing. And I love that you asked that. It truly, on the scientific level, if I kind of circle back to what I was sharing about the hair in the inner ears being a sense of refining filament or fibers that help the frequencies come through and be translated into audible sounds, right, within our audible sound spectrum. As we know, there's a lot of sounds and frequencies that are not within our audible spectrum, just like there are a lot of light waves that are outside of our visible spectrum, right? We can't see them, doesn't mean they don't exist, infrared, all of these things. It's the same with sounds, right, and frequencies, which is why our animals can hear things we can't hear. So all that being said, the hair on our head comes off the crown chakra. It comes off our spiritual port or connected space, the crown chakra, right, the top of the head, or on the scalp, even in the back of the head here, which is the well-dream chakra. These are the higher level chakra systems that are known to connect to our extrasensory perception through our sense of beyond senses of the traditional realm into that of the psychic realm. And so this has always been a space, almost like a helmet or a rainbow of connection to the non-physical realm. So the fibers, which are our hair, or the follicle, the dead skin follicles of our hair, have been seen to help essentially align or access, just like an antenna, those connector points through the crown or through our higher level sense of psychic connection to the non-physical or the spiritual realm. And whether that is true or not, there's just a sense of resonance with what you choose to believe and what feels aligned with you. With a lot of oral tradition or religious tradition or cultural tradition, what we choose to validate and honor and respect in our own life is just things that we resonate with, that we feel a sense of peace and connection to. So I would encourage you to listen to that. It's a space within the heart, not just the mind. So it's not just information based, but how your heart truly feels about the decisions that you make and why you make them. So that was a beautiful question. Thanks for sending it in, and I hope you guys come back next week, same time, same place. We'll be here with another question and another answer. Blessings.